And we do have to mention that the one son, Jordan, the older son,
yes.
his real name is Austin Butler.
I saw that.
And he went on to be Elvis in the movie.
Elvis.
Wow,
he won the Golden Globe for that.
Was it a Golden Globe?
Performance.
Yeah. He won an award for that movie.
Yes.
So the Cassidys have to be so proud of him because... Welcome to the Sean Squad Society podcast with your hosts, myself, Cindy,
Doris,
Dame Madonna,
where we invite you to share in our enthusiasm and reminisce about all things Sean Cassidy.
From his teen idol days to his recent adventures back on the road again.
Please join us for the stories and memories that connected us to those happy days that helped create the Sean Squad Society podcast.
Hey, show me the way. What are the rules? How do you keep our family? What is the key? How do you stay together? Whoa, whoa, oh, oh. If love is all you need to get along, to be strong for each other, I'll give you all I can give you where I live.
Okay, here's a quick background of the show that we're about to talk about. It's called Ruby and the Rockits, and it follows Patrick Gallagher, who is a former teen icon who has chosen to lead a quiet life with his wife, Audie. Herself is a 1980s ex-music dancer for videos, and they have two sons. But when his former Rockits bandmate, who is his brother David, shows up unexpectedly with his newfound teenage daughter, and the Gallagher family's life becomes anything but normal, David, who refuses to give up his past glory days, comes to Patrick for help in raising Ruby while he continues to perform. Patrick must now put the past with David behind them in order to help raise Ruby and keep order within the rest of the Gallagher clan. So Ruby and the Rockits was written by former teen idol Sean Cassidy and Ed Yeager, with teleplay by Ed Yeager and Marsh McCall. On February 2, 2009, ABC Family announced it had ordered a full season of 10 episodes. And
the series premiered on Tuesday, July 21st, 2009.
Ruby and the Rockits was a hilarious show, but what I found funny were these silly songs from the Rockits from back in the day, the 80s songs. And when they would dress up Patrick and David in their 80s costumes and show them, quote unquote, making their video. And those songs were just hilarious. I would love to get my hand on like Channel of Love.
Yes, I remember those. That was hilarious.
And Doris, to see them with that 80s hair, wasn't that funny? And then you saw Audie like crawling on the floor with her big hair.
I thought the makeup was so freaking hilarious. It was
hilarious.
Hilarious.
I wore mine like that back in those days.
Yeah.
Back in those days, not now.
The spandex, the hair, the makeup, the whole shebang. But the songs were funny. And what was the other one, Cindy? We were just talking about it. The 80s song from the Rockits.
The first one that they sang in the episode was called Only a Dream Lasts Forever.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was a little bit slower.
Yeah.
That's funny. And hey, David, it's funny because David was this person that represented a lot of men that don't want to give up the cool person they were back in the 80s, and they're our age now, but they still want to be that 80s guy.
Yes, reliving the days. Well, not reliving, just continuing the days.
Yeah, just going forward with it.
Once you start watching it, you can't stop because it just gives you that good feeling, you know.
Yes, it was a
family-oriented type of show, and it didn't have anything bad in it, and so the whole family could watch it. And so that was really neat of the Cassidy family to invite us into a fun show that they wanted to put together. But what makes the show so funny is they get this unexpected guest that just walks in with her luggage. And if some stranger had just walked into my house, especially a teenager, and wanted to just move in with me and told me that she was related to me, I don't know that I would just say, hey, I got a room for you.
But
No, I know it didn't start like that. It started out with David. I get that. But
Yeah.
yeah, Ruby is the unexpected guest, and she's the daughter, the long lost daughter, or not even lost, the unknown daughter
Right.
of David Gallagher, right? Is that it?
yeah,
And
they didn't even expect this girl to just show up. But in this show, the two kids really didn't talk to their parents about it. But the brothers got together and they talked about it. And so they were trying to figure out a way to find out for sure if she was really their cousin. You would think before they got to this point, they would have worked on some way to prove it. But like you said, it's a funny show. It's cute. In real life, that wouldn't
Yeah.
just happen. Where, hey, come
Yeah.
stay in the
They
extra
didn't.
room.
Yeah, they didn't get into detail like that. I think
Yes.
going through all that DNA. The boys, he cornered her in the kitchen, and all of a
Yes,
sudden he
pulled
was
her
giving
hair.
her a hug, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
he pulls the
yanked.
hair out, and she's like,
And
"What's
she's
wrong
like,
with this
"Ow,
family?"
What's wrong? Yeah, this family that I'm
Oh my
with.
gosh, that was hilarious.
that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
But they never told us. And so we need another season. I want to know if they really, well, I guess some movies, they don't tell you everything. And this one, obviously,
Right.
with the sitcom, it didn't tell us everything.
So the whole Cassidy family, we have Ryan Cassidy set design, David Cassidy as David Gallagher, Patrick Cassidy as Patrick Gallagher, Sean Cassidy as the executive producer. It was a family show.
Yes.
And that was a pun intended, because it was
It's an
also
autobiography, basically.
Family oriented. And then they said, like, the series premiere was watched by 1.6 million viewers. So
Wow.
people actually liked the show because they could relate to it. But I guess it just didn't have all the weird stuff that they have in the shows nowadays or something. But I liked it.
You said it had 1.6 million in its
It
premiere.
did say that.
Well, I remember that. You know how I have a very weird memory for crazy facts, and I remember watching one of the daytime talk shows, and Sean and David and Patrick were on this show, and they said that Ruby and the Rockets premiered with the highest premiere of any show for
Wow.
that ABC network. I think it was called ABC Family at
Right.
the time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's warm. It's just, and it's funny. Oh, it's real funny.
It
I
is
mean, they
funny.
push it here and there, and that's what makes it just a little spicy, So I'm ready for season 2 to get other questions answered.
Unfortunately, the ratings weren't good enough to continue to season 2, which is real shame because I was looking forward to it. My daughter was 9 at the time this came out, so she was watching those family
Yes.
shows, the Disney.
Disney Channel, ABC
So-
Family. Those shows were popular. And I remember shows like That's So Raven and that other one, what's her name?
Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana.
Yes.
And Ruby and the Rockets reminds me of those shows.
Yep.
And those shows had longevity. So I really don't understand how Ruby and the Rockets didn't, but I think it connected more with our age group than it did with the children. And that's why Hannah Montana and That's So Raven connected.
A lot of us didn't even know it was on. When I would see the
Exactly.
new little shows come on, I thought they were just annoying, and I didn't know the details, and I didn't take time to watch them. If I had known that this was out, I would have had myself, my kids, my friends, everybody watching it.
That's the point I'm making, is that our age group was the audience, and a lot of us didn't know that it was on. Then-
Exactly. So now they need to replay it.
The premise of this whole show was that Sean wanted to profile brotherly connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the premise of this whole series.
Yes. And then David, he was a good sport to do what he did and to put all of, everything into his acting. He tried really hard to do a good job, and he did.
Right.
He's just a natural. So it was neat that Sean, would give him this chance where they could all work together as brothers.
right.
So that's kind of ironic because the brothers in the show and then the other two little brothers, that they are all working together to,
Well,
accomplish different things.
Let's talk about the cast of characters.
Yeah.
So we have David
Yeah.
Gallagher, who is the guy who wants to continue being a rock star here
Right.
25 years after his heyday. You have Patrick Gallagher, who kind of moved on, started a family, and became a car salesman.
But he's such a dad, such a father.
Exactly. He became a family man, a dad. Then you have his wife,
Audie
Gallagher.
Katie Keene.
Right.
Or
But
Keeney?
I'm talking about the characters now.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
Audie was funny.
Audie Gallagher was Patrick Gallagher's wife, and she was like the set dancer back in the day. She was the video dancer and choreographer for those Rockits videos. Now, they have two boys of their own.
Jordan and Ben.
Now, Jordan wants to be a songwriter.
Yes.
He runs around with his guitar all day trying to write songs.
Yes, and they make fun of him and stuff. It's so funny.
Yes, and Ben is the youngest son. He's kind of a smart aleck, mischievous.
He reminds me of Danny in the Partridge Family.
Correct. I was
Yeah,
going to
he
say
reminds-
that. His character,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are so many similarities to this show and the Partridge Family, and the Ben's character is so much like Danny
Yes.
Partridge. It's laugh out loudable.
Yes, I think that was deliberate.
I think so too.
There were so many innuendos in this show, and I started keeping track of them when I was watching them, and it's how connected it is to the Cassidy family. You know, they
Yeah.
got Patrick on there. He's got 2 kids in real life, and they're both boys. He has 2 kids on the show. His wife is a dancer, and in real life, his wife is a dancer.
Yes.
And actually, Katie on the show, she was a former dancer back in the 80s
Oh,
in
okay.
real life.
Okay.
So it all connects.
She reminds me so much of Sean's wife, you know, tall, pretty, same type of hair.
Slender, yeah.
Yeah, slender, just reminded me of Sean's wife.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of cool.
She was perfect for that.
I had a connection that I don't think anybody but me might have figured out. So we have Ruby, who's the star of the show. Her name is Ruby, and she's played by
Alexa Vega.
Alexa Vega.
She used to
Thank
be in
you.
the Spy Kids movies.
Yes. So Alexa Vega plays Ruby. Now, David Cassidy plays David Gallagher. In real life, David Cassidy has a daughter named Katie, right?
Right?
Now, Katie Cassidy was in a TV show called Supernatural in 2007, 2008 for that season. In the 2007-2008 season of Supernatural, Katie Cassidy's, who's David Cassidy's daughter,
In real life.
her character was Ruby.
Oh my gosh. What a
So-
connection.
I think that they gave a nod to Katie Cassidy by naming David Gallagher's daughter
Yeah.
Ruby.
That's probably where it came from. Because I was wondering about that. I didn't know where Ruby came from, but that makes total sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I have a niece named Ruby, and so the show made me think of her too. And I was like, oh, I wish I could have that relationship. Maybe she'll want to move in with me and let me be her aunt that gets to be her buddy.
Well, I noticed in this show, Patrick's wife, Audie, she doesn't have a daughter, so she wanted to cling to
Yes,
Ruby.
it's- the
Yes, she wanted her to be her daughter.
Yeah.
Well, at first she was like, no, I'll just be like your older sister. And then as time went on and they became more comfortable with each other, she asked Audie, she said, what about if you're like a mom to me? And that was just warmed her heart. you
Yes,
know?
she loved that.
But at first she wanted to be big sister.
So, did anybody else notice? I'm on the premiere episode when Ruby shows up at the casino
Yeah.
where David's singing and everything. I might have missed something. Did she say that she leave home to go find her dad? How did she?
I think her mom died.
Oh, her mom.
Her mom died, but I mean, that's just kind of strange to just show up like that
And
with your
she,
stuff.
but she knew who her father was because
Okay.
she would reference her friends watching things and she'd be like, yeah, that's my dad.
Okay.
But now that her mom passed, she was going to go
And find him
find him.
and
Mhm.
be with him.
But because David has this lifestyle, he couldn't really handle her.
Welcome a teenage daughter into
Right.
the life of a casino singer.
Right.
But his
So-
brother's family was so accepting, and it just
Right.
really surprised me that somebody would be that accepting.
David brings Ruby over to Patrick's house and he asked Patrick if he could help raise Ruby. keep them together. And of course, Patrick said, of course, he would do that.
Right. In the world of sitcom, it's always rainbows and hearts. And so, yes, of course, in the real life, there will be some drama, but this show is so sweet and wholesome, and that's what it needed to be at that time. And it was on the ABC Family Channel, and that's, of course, they're going to say, Patrick welcomed this 16, 15-year-old girl. No questions asked.
So that's what TV's all about, or should be about. It just has the good, warm, fuzzy stuff, and that's all I ever wanted in my house. If my TV was on, I didn't want anything that sounded scary.
Yeah. But this was a fun show because it was about a former teen idol. Well, I guess they were a duo together. They were famous, but Patrick chose to lead the quiet life with his wife and kids. But his brother, David, doesn't want to give up this life. So he just continues to stay in this lifestyle and doesn't have time for any kids, things like that. But it is kind of funny how this mimics real life.
And the funny thing about it is it's all about the life of a 80s rock star still trying to live that life. It sort of hints, but it never really hints and says anything about alcohol and drugs and sex.
That's true.
Sex, drugs, and all that. But we all know that that's the reason why David Gallagher doesn't want the teenage daughter in that life, because it's that life.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. All I saw was the warm and fuzzy stuff in it.
Yeah, and that's what makes it such a good show. It leads it to the imagination. There were so many good episodes. You guys want to talk about a couple? I know there's one I really want to talk about.
Well, I want to tell you one more thing about Patrick. His real life versus in the show.
Yeah.
He talked about playing high school football. And back then, Patrick was pretty popular with playing football and should have went to the
NFL.
And he had an injury, so he couldn't go that way. So it was kind of funny they referenced that in there too. They were throwing everything they could in there to reference their real lives.
Yeah, they did.
I caught that.
I love David's fancy dressing room in the show. He was like obsessed with his hair too.
Yes.
And I loved his shirts. They were like so groovy looking,
Yes. And did you notice the pictures on the wall? Those are his actual in-concert pictures they used for his dressing room. He's got a purple shirt on one. It's kind of a shiny one. That was a real,
Yes, it was.
These are real concerts.
That picture is on the cover of a live concert video that I have of David.
Yes, I have that too.
That shirt.
Yes.
Well, speaking of David, maybe they were trying to start another music album like with Alexa. That could have become like a big hit, just like with David's days, on the Partridge Family, because she was so adorable. And she had that cute, fun voice. And even the beginning of the shows, like you guys were talking about, was so catchy and fun.
I was hoping David would sing a song with Ruby. I was hoping to see that them two together singing, because they both are good singers. But I never saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, why didn't you have them sing together?
I would have loved to have seen that.
They did, Dame, to your point, they did release the songs that Alexa sang as iTunes. Okay. They dropped each week on iTunes. So they were released.
Hey, guys, let's get that. Let's get that. I'm going to do it then. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I didn't know they were released either. That was news to me. But she did a handful of songs.
I know, Doris, you're getting ready to talk about some of the episodes, but I was just thinking when we were talking about David, how funny it was when he tried to help his daughter sneak out the window, because instead of being such a good dad, he thought he was being a good dad by teaching her some of his old tricks from when he was younger.
Oh, yeah. She wanted to go meet the boyfriend or something, or the guy she liked.
Boyfriend. Yeah, the boyfriend that would never be interested in her, but she still wanted to try to get to him. And Patrick was being the good dad and saying, no way, you stay away from him. And then her cousin that got a little bit jealous because he was hoping that it wasn't really his cousin because he had a little bit of a crush on her.
Yeah, he did.
And so he was a little protective of the whole situation. But David's like, hey, I'll help you sneak out to that guy that you want to have a date with.
Yeah, it seems like every episode, David would help Ruby do something that was not all the way standard for, a 15-year-old kid. But David's like, sure, I could do that.
Yeah. And we do have to mention that the one son, Jordan, the older son.
Jordan, yes.
His real name is Austin Butler.
And
Yeah, I saw that.
And he went on to be Elvis in the movie.
Elvis.
Wow,
I saw
it.
The
I
Golden
know.
Globe for
Was
that
it a Golden Globe? Yeah.
performance.
He won
Yes.
an award for that movie.
Yes.
So
he
the
did.
Cassidys have to be so proud of him because this might have been his first show he was in was the Ruby and the Rockets.
Yes. When Elvis came out, Sean did put on his social how proud he was of Austin Butler when the awards that he won. Sean made sure to mention and referenced how he was on Ruby and the Rockets.
Yes. Yeah.
But I want to just quickly name the 6 awards that Austin Butler won for his role in Elvis. Of course, the biggest one was the Golden Globe.
Mm-hmm.
He won the AACTA Award for Best Lead Actor. Oh, the Golden Globe was for Best Actor. He won the Satellite Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, the BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, the AACTA International Award for Best Actor, and finally he won the People's Choice Award for the Drama Motion Picture.
Of Elvis.
Yeah.
I didn't know he won all those awards.
No wonder Sean Cassidy was so proud of his Austin Butler.
So proud. Yeah.
And I rooted for him to get that Oscar that year, but he didn't get the Oscar.
Yeah. But that's okay. And the Presleys were able to see him get it too before Lisa Marie passed away.
Yes. So that character that he played in Ruby and the Rockets, he was a silly, downright silly kid.
Yes.
And it just shows how good of an actor he is. He was just running around writing these silly songs. He had a crush on his cousin that Ben made sure to mention every time he would say something. You know that's your cousin.
Yeah, I know. He wanted the connection, and the only way he knew to connect with her was to sing with her. So I realized that. But it was good that they were able to connect on a certain level where they would write songs together and sing. But that's about as far as he's going to get.
I think it's funny, though, when David had that crush on the teacher, Vanessa, and his daughter, which was his daughter's Spanish teacher.
Yeah.
And so he went into his daughter's classroom and he went in there singing again.
Yes. Yes.
All the times he gets to go in and sing, go back to his singing. So that shows that Sean was probably still very proud of David. I mean, of course he was. Forever he was proud of David.
Right.
But the fact that he wanted to use his songs and have extra little songs and just show how cute his brother still was, even though this is years later, that was very kind of Sean.
Right,
Yes.
right. And now there were only 10 episodes with this show, too.
Yes, there are only 10 episodes of Ruby and the Rockets.
And Patrick was a good sport.
Yeah, he was a good sport, too. He seemed to be the mediator in the whole thing.
Yes. But, there was a part in there where he's fluffing up his little feathers in a way and talking about something where people want to come up and get his autograph, because back when he was with the Rockets and I could still picture all of us girls at Sean Cassidy's concert meeting for the very first time. And then we look over and we see Patrick. And I went over there and met Patrick, and he was the nicest guy. His personality reminded me of the personality from the show.
Yes, Patrick.
Oh, he's real life. Yeah.
On screen and off, he is one of the nicest people you will ever get
Very
to know.
personable.
Yes.
I felt that. And so he really made the show.
Yes.
I know Sean made the show, but he also made the show.
Right.
But the last one, girls, the last episode is the funny one because of Sean's mom, Shirley. She made the show.
She was in the almost last one.
Last one.
I think number 9.
Episode 9.
Number 9, it was called 50 Ways to Heave Your Mother.
Oh, that's the reference.
So fun.
Yeah. Number 9 is called 50 Ways to Heave Your Mother. That was the name of the episode.
So, Cindy, we were wondering, we had a little discussion before we started. They said that was a nod to 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Right.
That's the reference.
Yes, to the song.
Yes. But I tell you, that episode, I loved it because it had every Cassidy in it.
Yes, I was so happy to see that. But Shirley wasn't a very happy mother in that episode.
No, but it was funny. She walks in and she hands the boys, oh, here's some money, you know? And a lot of us remember
Yeah.
our grandparents doing that, where it's like,
Right.
I really don't want to hang out with you, but here's a $20 bill.
Yes.
My grandfather did that, you know? And I was like, and I still remember that $20 bill that he handed me, and because that was what we knew about each other. You know, he gave me
Right.
$20. I just knew that was what my grandpa did, but
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of detail. And so, like, when Ruby's trying to figure out how to win her over, because she just gives Ruby gum instead of money.
Right, yeah.
Because they're like,
Let's-
why don't you give her some money too?
Let's set it up, Dame. Let's set it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
here's the description of the
Okay.
episode. It says, Ruby meets David and Patrick's mother, played by Shirley Jones, who's unreceptive to Ruby's attempts at bonding and asks Ruby not to call her grandma.
Yes.
That's the description of the episode.
Now, the reason, so it's what makes it a sitcom is there's always a reason for all that, a situation. And the main situation was Ruby wants to bond with this woman and become Shirley becomes her grandma, but Shirley's feeling a certain kind of way because nobody bothered to call her to tell her
Right.
there's a girl living in the house.
They didn't tell us that until the end.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's the reason why. And Shirley is this curmudgeon old grandma.
Yeah.
I mean, she's mean and she can't sleep in the same room.
She says, call me Mrs. Gallagher.
Yeah, it was hilarious. And they're figuring out the sleeping arrangements and they're living in tents and
Right.
it was so funny.
It was funny.
In walks that Shirley, and she walks in just like you were saying, Doris, just, you know, just like the grumpiest grandma you've ever seen. I mean, sometimes grandmas can be like that, but she would just had the worst attitude. It was almost funny. And she walked in there just very solid, though. And she thinks that she can stay, you know, in the same bed. Well, Ruby thought she could stay in the same bedroom with grandma. And she thought that was going to, like you said, going to be a good way to bond.
Mhm.
Well, David had given grandma that sleeping pill. And so grandma had the bed. And then, of course, Ruby was trying to sleep on the floor on her little mattress that she had made because, you know, Ruby was very creative. All the time she was creative.
Right.
Well, anyway, grandma goes to get some fresh air out the window and about falls out the window because she had that sleeping pill. And then Ruby runs over there to try to save her. And that's when grandma screams and everybody comes in there and it looks
And
like Ruby's trying to push her out
push
the
her
window.
right out the window.
And Shirley claimed that she was doing that too. She kind of fed into
Yeah.
it and said, she tried to push me out the window.
Yes, and everybody remembers Shirley, a sweet, lovable Shirley Partridge.
Yeah.
And you see this episode, and she is truly this curmudgeon. And it's just funny. And the way Ruby is like, but no, I'm just not. And she said a loss for words.
Yeah, and don't forget this part too. Don't forget the mother-in-law part. When she came in the house, Patrick's wife was not too happy about her just showing up unannounced.
Right.
She was going to bring her to the hotel, put her in bed, and she wanted to get rid of her.
Yes. Where are my keys? And
Yeah, she goes, I'll tuck you in.
That's the typical mother-in-law.
Well, and then it was like everybody loves Raymond. And that's the way, like with my mother-in-law, everyone loves Jerry. They can't do anything wrong. And Patrick would try so hard to win her over
Right.
the way David had. And he would get so irritated
Yes.
at his mom. He would eat.
Yes, and David was her favorite child, not Patrick. So Patrick was upset because she favored him and not Patrick. So Patrick had this stressful eating where he had to eat all the time because he was stressed that his mom was there and he had to deal with it.
well, one of the things that was very funny in the episode when she first arrived, because I noticed how they referenced a lot of their personal, the things that were true to life. She comes in and either Audie or Patrick says, I'll get you back on that plane to Pennsylvania so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Well, we all know that Shirley's
Yes.
from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
So I was like, oh, listen to that. They even
Another
made
reference.
her from the town that
Yes.
she's really from.
Wow.
All these references. And there was also an episode too where David was talking to Patrick and Patrick was mad about something. He said, come on, get happy.
Well, that was the episode
Oh,
with
yes.
Shirley at
Yeah.
the very end. They all made up And Patrick was still standing there kind of grumpy a little bit because, Mom's been this way all her life with him. And David turns and says, come on, get happy.
Well, you know what, Doris, can I tell about the table part? Ruby's trying to win her over, and they're sitting at this table, and Ruby had made this dinner not knowing she was allergic to some of the stuff. But they're sitting there, and somehow Ruby starts to sing, just being, how her cute self that sings.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought because Grandma was always finding excuses to be mad at Ruby. So I thought she was going to get mad at Ruby for singing at the table. But instead, Grandma, she tries to outdo her. And then when she's ending the song, she holds the note for like the longest time.
Yes, that was
It is so funny.
And then shoves a piece of chicken in her mouth.
Yeah, but she's like, ooh.
Oh, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. Yeah.
She just keeps holding it.
So much fun to watch these.
And then she goes, and who sang it better? I just remember that.
But I think at the very end of the episode, I think they came together.
Yes, they did.
They were
outside by the tent.
In
the tent, yes.
Yes.
Because,
they did.
Ruby finally just kind of gave up. And so she goes, she, like you guys were saying, she goes and she does her tent. She's always creative. She kept messing with that tent. And then she finally just took it outside. And I thought it was cool that the rest of the family joined her out there, not Grandma, because Grandma was up there, how she is, still pouting, and nobody knows why she was upset.
Right.
And it's, it's the same way in real life. Okay, so somebody can be in the big, beautiful house, the big, beautiful room, but there she goes out in the tent, with the bugs. Of course, in the tent, so you won't get as many bugs.
Yeah.
But instead of everybody crowding into Grandma's room, where do they go?
Outside the tent.
But then Shirley notices that they're out there, or David does.
But David talks to her about it.
Yeah, David's in the room talking to her.
And then she opens up to him, but Grandma comes in and she does apologize. But when she looks in the tent to look at all of these people having fun, there's Patrick stuffing all these marshmallows in his mouth.
That was funny.
And he was like,
that was funny. That was hilarious. They're having fun. And Patrick said, for the first time, I'm having fun with my family. And he was happy that he was out there having fun instead of being stressed.
And he finally just told her the way he felt. And here she wanted to apologize.
But then after the tent, Ruby says to Shirley, I know how you feel, like nobody told her about Ruby.
Yes.
But then Ruby was kind of excluded from the family too. So she said to Shirley something about, now you know how it feels to be excluded from the family. And she said yes. And that's how they bonded.
And that's why we need to open up even to our families. I'm not trying to, because this was a comedy. It was funny. But there's a little bit of truth to every joke. And in this show, it's saying there might be some family hurt. And if you don't open up to each other and you don't realize there's a reason why maybe somebody's hurt, then you may not ever work it out.
Right.
And look how much fun they had.
That is very true. They wouldn't have worked it out if they wouldn't have opened up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one more reference too, they lived in Florida, which is where David lived. So I don't know if they wanted to connect that with the place where one of them lived at, but that was also a reference.
Like the Sean Squad Society podcast, it is very educational.
Oh, yes. It definitely is.
We're better than public television.
We all learn something,
We're going to teach you something every week.
We know what we know, but it's been fun on this journey to learn more.
Yes, it has.
I've enjoyed learning more tidbits about different things that happen throughout the years.
Every episode is a learning experience. Every one of them.
I know, and I wish we were able to go through all of the episodes, but, with time, we don't have time to go through them all. But, if anybody wants to check it out, there's 10 episodes of Ruby and the Rockits.
And I will tell you, you can buy them.
Yep.
You can buy them on Amazon Prime for, what is it, like $10 for all 10.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can buy them on YouTube. And YouTube, you don't need a subscription to YouTube TV or anything. You just go in, put in Ruby and the Rockits, and they're $12.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can't afford all of them, you could buy them individually for a couple of bucks each.
Yeah, like $2.99, I think it was. Something like that.
So
get the last one for sure.
Yeah, yes. The last one was about...
The nuts to last episode, number 9, was Shirley Jones's appearance on the show.
Right. And number 10 was called Smells Like Teen Drama.
And that one was a little funny, too.
Yeah, it says Ruby gets mad at Jordan when he starts dating her best friend Kristen. Meanwhile, David and Patrick teach Ben how to defend himself against being a bully at school.
True.
Yes.
True.
The dad and the uncle lie and teach Ben how to fight the bully. He ends up winning. It turns out the bully is a girl.
Yes, because he never mentions that this person slapped him on the butt, that it was a girl. And they were like, oh, you don't have to take that. And David teaches him how to box.
Yep.
And he beats up a girl.
Yes.
And Ruby's best friend and her cousin get together, and she gets jealous of that relationship.
Right. Yes.
I do remember so many other little funny parts. And, this shows where the Cassidys got together and they put this together, they worked together, and it's the same way with families. And so you get your family together and watch how the Cassidy family put this together.
Did we mention Ryan at all? He was the set director?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a full-on family affair.
Yeah.
Every Cassidy had something to do with.
And I'm so happy that they have that now. I'm so happy they have that as a memory now. Just like the same as David talked Sean into doing Blood Brothers. Sean wasn't going to do it, but he's glad he did now. And I think Ruby and the Rockits is another piece of history. I think they're all glad that they did.
Yes.
Right. So, girls, with episode 9, who do you think shined the most from that episode?
Oh, with Shirley in it? Oh, Shirley shined.
You just answered, Shirley.
Shirley
yes. I mean, all her sons right there working together and producing this. That's a proud mama right there.
Well, we really enjoyed sharing Ruby and the Rockits with you today. It was a lot of fun. And make sure to let us know on our social media pages what you think of Ruby and the Rockits. We'd love to hear from you. Whether it's just now you're finding it or if you've watched it in the past, we'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you from the bottom of our Teen Dream hearts. Keep on crushing.
Always believe in magic.
And have a peaceful, shantastic week. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and subscribe to our new YouTube page.
Make sure to keep in touch with us at our email, SeanSquadSociety@gmail.com.
The Sean Squad Society podcast, including past, present, and future versions, and its contents are owned and controlled by the Sean Squad Society. The podcast is written, produced, and recorded at the Borden Studios, and the views and opinions are solely those of the Sean Squad Society podcast. We may think we are always right, but we may get things wrong from time to time, so we assume no responsibility for errors of submission of content.